Yo, check this out.
Are you looking at getting into product photography and don't know where to start? Well, keep watching because I'll be going over some of my top tips for the perfect setup and shots.
So let's get started. So the camera I'll be using today is my trusty Canon EOS R5. I personally use the R5 because of its high megapixel. It is definitely very useful, especially when you want to crop into your image later on and still retain a high quality image as the final output. But with that said, you can still do product photography with any other cameras from Canon. Lens choice. For today's shoot, I have a Canon RF24-72.8, a staple lens that is very versatile that stays in my bag most of the time. So for the first shot, I will be on 70mm focal length. I have my shutter set on 160th of a second, and the aperture is at f5.6 because I want the whole glass to be sharp and in focus. Then once I've got my camera settings dialed in, I'll start crafting my lights. Knowing how to manipulate lights will definitely differentiate your photography from a beginner to a pro. For this shot, I'll have my key light set to the left of my camera, just behind the glass. This will help shape and sculpt the product. Then I will add in my fill light with a diffusion panel to soften the light source. And if you have an extra light, you can add a little highlight or fill from the other side to lift the shadows. I always try to nail my shot in camera because most of the time it's a lot faster to fix something on set than spending hours in the editing cave retouching. Then moving on to the next shot. I will be changing my focal length to 24mm because I want to go a little closer and lower to make the product look more heroic. So this focal length has a little bit of distortion in the corners of the edges, so just make sure that you keep your product in the center of the frame to minimize that. And a little tweak in placement of my lights, this is what it will look like. And finally, flat lays. I always use my 24-70 for flat lays because I like the versatility of changing my focal length when the camera is pointing down. For camera settings, I like to keep my aperture around f8 to f11 when I'm doing flat lays because I want to keep the entire plane of the image in focus and sharp. Now for the lighting part, because I want to see the textures of the waffles, I have placed my key light lower to cast a more directional light. This will also create these nice shadows in the waffles. Then by adding a nice soft light, it will help lift the shadows in the overall image. If you're feeling a little moody, you can add some cutters to cut some of the key light out to get an image like this. I hope you learned a thing or two watching this video, and
for more tips and tricks, make sure to head over to Canon's Inspire page.